18-point lead now for the hosts as this ball comes inside to Cognetta, who lays it in. Still applying the full court press. And that's going to be an offensive foul and a turnover on Grace Geary.
I think the referee, that might have been a makeup call. Cognetta got her hand on Geary's wrist. It wasn't enough for the call, and then Geary tried to extend out the elbow to gain a little bit of space, but that might have been a call after there have been a couple calls late in this game that haven't gone Keene State's way.
That shot won't go. Good hustle attempt by Cognetta to keep that in, but she played it right to the hands of Morrison. Ball finds Burson, who will be fouled by Cognetta.
I think this one's actually going to go on Voitas.
Yep. It's on Voitas. That's her third. And with such a big lead, free throws come of less importance than we were talking about earlier on, but they've been hitting them down the stretch, and that's got to be good looking forward for this team.
Yeah, UMass Boston, after this made free throw, 20 of 27 now, after just a 7 of 17 performance on Tuesday. Beacon shooting over 73% from the free throw line, and that's a really comfortable thing. And Tajay Burston, she's not one of the players who gets noticed as much. She's 6 of 6 from the free throw line. She's the player you want at the line, despite the statistics from Geary, because she just seems so calm all the time.
Voitas with a nice lay in there with just 12 and a half seconds remaining, as Keene State will take a timeout here.
12 and a half seconds to go as our brand new in-game scoring clock testing it out for the first time. We hope that you've enjoyed being able to have the exact time on the clock for today's game. Brian Feil doing a great job directing. Ryan Augustine on the camera for today's Sunday matinee. But, Doug, I think this is the exact kind of performance that head coach Courtney Manley wanted to have, as we'll have her on our post-game show in just a few moments, but balanced offensively and defensively, showing that they could respond well to the loss against UMass Dartmouth, and the free throw shooting definitely a big key. This has been one of the Beacon's better performances, not nearly on the same par as the Brandeis game, but that might have been the Beacon's best performance of the year, in that Brandeis had beaten them by 38 a year ago, and normally conference games are close. For one reason or another, you're familiar with the other team. You know exactly what they're good at, what they're bad at, what you need to focus on. Non-conference games, sometimes you get some big blowouts. That happened a year ago. The Beacons came back and won by 4, but certainly a positive showing is the Beacons. Their only home loss came to Eastern Connecticut State, the presumed top team, but they've done a nice job against the other team, beating Rhode Island College by 5, and now they've got Southern Maine on Tuesday. That's a statement game. If the Beacons can come away with the victory against the Huskies, they'll really prove they're contenders in this conference ahead of their games against Rhode Island College and Eastern Connecticut on the road.
And as we mentioned, today's win will move the Beacons to 4-3 in conference play this year, moving them into a tie with the University of Southern Maine and Rhode Island College, their next two opponents coming up. And as you mentioned, those are going to be the big tests. They can take those big steps forward, leapfrog those two teams. They're looking sweet going as they look down the stretch towards the Little East Conference Tournament.
And not that there's any easy games. The Beacons will have UMass Dartmouth at home after Eastern Connecticut State. UMass Dartmouth currently leading the conference at 6-1, their lone loss coming at Eastern Connecticut State. Then the Beacons have Plymouth State, the only team without a win. The Beacons blew out Plymouth State, so that should be a victory, but then up to Southern Maine, a place that they've never won, and then Western Connecticut State. And who knows where the Colonials will be at that point in the season. They've been high, they've been low, and it's really just a question of which Colonials team it'll be. But a good win for UMass Boston, a 19-point win. I don't think anyone expected the final margin to be this big, and it's amazing considering we had ourselves a tie game 7 minutes in to the second half. Yeah,
it was definitely very strong effort by the Owls coming out at halftime, but then another strong effort by the Beacons to recover from that after letting the Owls back into the game and come away with such a decisive victory.
Yeah, UMass Boston showing their fight, and that's the big thing, as the Beacons took a 15-point lead at halftime, saw it go away, and then came back to come away with a big victory. We're going to take a break. We'll have the final statistics, and I'll try to go grab head coach Courtney Mattingly for an interview. And welcome back to the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium after a 19-point Beacons victory. My name is Seth Ransky, joined by head coach Courtney Mattingly. Coach, you hit 75% of your free throws today, 24 after hitting just 7 of 17. I know that you talked about the free throws going UMass Dartmouth's way and getting all those fouls. How does it feel today? A very young team. You have a lot of freshmen and sophomores out there to show the poise today to hit those free throws and to come back after your 15-point victory at halftime, collapsed, and then to push it back and earn an even bigger victory than you had in that first half.
I'm really proud of them. We challenged a couple of individuals and a couple of people after the Dartmouth game. Obviously, free throws was a huge focus yesterday at our shoot-around practice and the day before. And to show, again, they battled back, and we really could have just caved. But instead, they go out there and they compete, and that's what they did tonight. And they really battled back. We hit some big shots. Liv bounced back from the Dartmouth game in an awesome way, and really responded. I thought Keeks did a great job really finishing today. And then our guards were a little off, especially in the first half, hitting shots, and I thought they maintained their composure and really stepped up. In the second half when Keene made their run, we locked in. We challenged them defensively, and I thought we did a pretty good job on the defensive end as well after the Dartmouth game.
Well, Coach, you answered a lot of the potential questions I was about to ask you. But looking a little bit deeper at Olivia Murphy, her first collegiate game without points against UMass Dartmouth, 10-10 in the first half, really to carry you guys out to that big lead. Finished with 16 points and I believe 16 rebounds. A signature Olivia Murphy performance. How much does that help you guys when you have Liv going? Grace from the free throw line ended up with more points, but this was a game where Olivia really carried the scoring for the most of the game and helped take off the scoring weight from Kirsten, who finished with 8 points, from Katie Matthew, from some of the other players who can contribute offensively, but maybe it's not their forte.
Yeah, Liv is our go-to, and big-time players step up in big games and big moments, and for her to respond, and, we went back, we cut up all the film, we watched film, we got some extra reps, and talked about some things maybe she could adjust or do differently, and, give her all the credit in the world. She went out there and did it, and we say every day, our bigs, you need to demand the basketball. Everyone wants it, but you've got to demand it, and I feel like she did a much better job, of that today. The Dartmouth game, she was out of funk. She had gotten in foul trouble, kind of took her out of the flow of the game, and big-time players bounce back. They have a short memory, and she was awesome today for us.
Coach, potentially a short turnaround with Southern Maine on Tuesday. Who knows if the game will actually be played on Tuesday. Right? But how much does this win do for your team's psyche? You guys came off a game against UMass Dartmouth where it really could have been your game, and the refs maybe didn't play to your favor, and you didn't hit as many shots as you would have liked, but a chance to really set yourself up in a great spot down the stretch run if you can beat Southern Maine. And obviously it'll be a little bit easier here to earn that first ever victory over Southern Maine than having to do it up in a very difficult gym up in Gorham.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Again, you just got to give them a lot of credit. We went right back to work. We watched a lot of film with them and had 3, then 4, because of yesterday, 4 really good days of practice. And this team is a team that they love to win, but they hate losing more. And, you got to give them a lot of credit. We bounced back. They're resilient. And I hope that we're ready to go for Tuesday, if not, Wednesday.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the win. Enjoy it while you can, and then start the preparations for Southern Maine. Here on the Beacons post-game show, we'll be back in just a second with the final stats, the team leaders, and then the men's game not too far away from now as that game's scheduled to start in 12 minutes.
All right, welcome back to the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium here on the campus of UMass Boston. Doug Chin, Seth Lorensky with you. Seth, let's just take a look at the final stats today as the Beacons come away with the 19-point victory, 75-56.
Yeah, the thing that stands out to me, the Beacons minus 12 the first time against Keene State, plus 10 game number 2. A lot of the numbers very similar. The Beacons ended up shooting 45%. Keene State 23% in the first half, 33% for the game. But Olivia Murphy was actually better than I thought. 18 points, 18 rebounds. She had a phenomenal game. Grace Gary with 18 and 5. And for Keene State, Voitas had 18 points. Cognetta, though, just 8 points below her season average, and most of those came in garbage time. UMass Boston did a nice job defensively all afternoon long. Points in the paint, the Beacons were plus 10 at 33-22. Second chance points also went in the Beacons' favor. A good win for UMass Boston, but as we talked about, really short time in between games because of the issue yesterday with the weather. So Beacons could be playing in about 54 hours against the tough Southern Maine team, and you can't really overlook the fact that classes start Monday. It'll affect all the students, but for the student athletes, it'll definitely be a little bit more difficult as they'll have to focus back on both classes and athletics rather than just having the benefit of being able to focus on their workouts and their practices as the only thing going on.
Absolutely. You look at as those classes get started, everybody's routine changes. So we're going to get ready to wrap up things for this game. Thanks to our whole broadcast crew today. Seth Lorenzi, Brian Falia, Ryan Augustine working the camera. About 9.5 minutes away from the start of Game 2 of today's doubleheader as the Keene State and UMass Boston men's teams take on each other. We'll take another quick break, and we'll bring you back up here to get you ready for that game. So listen to the Beacons Broadcast Network. All right, welcome back to the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium for Game 2 of today's Beacons basketball doubleheader between the visiting Keene State Owls and your UMass Beacons, UMass Boston Beacons, excuse me. Doug Chin, Seth Orensky with you here for Game 2 after the women just completed the 75-56 victory over the Owls. We should have a very interesting matchup here today as both teams like to play fast, Seth.
Yeah, Doug, you look at the team statistics right now, and these two teams near the top of the conference in points per game. In fact, Keene State leads the conference at 86.1. The Beacons going through a recent scoring lull. They're down to 5th at 76.3. But the first time these two teams met, 107-97 in favor of the Owls. Keene State's going to look to push the ball. They're going to look to get a lot of scoring contributions from a lot of different players. And a big thing is, you look at the statistics, UMass Boston, they're a smaller team. They were able to compensate for that rebounding margin early on in the year with Karl Agenor just ripping down every rebound. But as they played some bigger teams, they've struggled. Their numbers have gone down. Keene State is one of those bigger teams. And if Keene State can really set themselves up and have a good game on the boards, it's going to be difficult for the Beacons to be able to stick with the Owls, who are playing some of the best basketball in all of New England right now.
Absolutely, and you're going to see a lot of turnovers, a lot of steals. Both teams up there in the national rankings in steals. And now we're going to look at our team leaders for today. A lot of offense coming from some good players. Tom Doyle for the Keene State Owls, the reigning Little East Conference Player of the Week. So they're going to be looking to get a lot of scoring from him. On the Beacon side, they're going to be looking to their big players, Karl Agenor.
Yeah, Karl Joseph had 33 points, a career high against Keene State in the first game. He's coming off a very good game against UMass Dartmouth, where he scored 25 points, and had another good game against Tufts. So he started to heat up a little bit. Karl Agenor, 8th in the country, leads the conference with his 11.1 rebounds per game. But on the other side, Nate Howard just as good, as he's second in the conference at 10 rebounds per game. It's going to be a challenging matchup. The Beacons, though, have some great news as Luc Ulysse, our player to watch, coming back from a 6-game absence, and he's one of the team's senior leaders. It'll be great to have him back. He's a good ball handler, a good shooter. Gives the Beacons another big weapon out there on the floor.
Ulysses, one of the team's 4 captains. They're going to be looking to him not only for his play on the court, but also for some leadership as well.
Yeah, in his absence, the Beacons did get some good news. Omar Benavicha, the junior out of Saugus, Massachusetts, has really stepped up his play. Had a huge game against Western Connecticut and UMass Dartmouth. He started to heat up offensively, so the Beacons now should be able to stick with Keene State on the offensive end. It's whether they can do well enough defensively. It's good move there from Salim Omerovich, who's earned just his second start of the year.
Starters for the Beacons are Gregory Young, Omar Benavicha, Salim Omerovich, Luc Ulysse, who we just mentioned, and Carl Joseph. On the visitors' side, Matt Ozella, Dizelle Wright, Lucas Hamill, Tom Doyle, and Jeffrey Lunn. As the Owls will come away with the defensive rebound. This is Dizelle Wright with the chance, won't go. Nice inside pass, finds Omerovich for the lay-in.
And Doug, we have a basketball game, but we also have a track meet going on.
As another chance here for the Owls, offensive rebound there by Lunn. Lunn with the chance again. Offensive rebound there by Keene. He's able to put it home. Tie the game at 2. Lay in there by Salim Omerovich as both teams running early here.
Yeah, and Keene State forcing UMass Boston to run with the full court pressure to start off the game off the made baskets. It's a good sign for the Beacons to get Omerovich involved early. He's the only guy out there who really doesn't score at a big rate.
Long pass finds Joseph. He'll slow it down in the half court. Comes back to Luc Ulysse, as Joseph will miss the 3. Doyle now, as we mentioned, the reigning Little East Player of the Week. 3 ball here by Doyle. That won't go. Lay in by number 35, Karl Joseph. High pace here as we're just 3 minutes in, 6-4 Beacons lead. Turn inside by Lunn. Won't go. Rebound Joseph.
It's a good start for the Beacons, executing their half-court offense, getting some good looks. Big part of this game against Keene State, you have to avoid turnovers. If you can control the ball and not make sloppy decisions, you can stick with the Owls as long as you shoot halfway decently.
That ball is blocked by Doyle, and the Owls come away with it. Sent out to Ozella. Ozella back inside looking for Lunn. Lunn spins, puts it home.
Yeah, and Omerovich tried to draw the charge there. It looked like he drew a lot of contact, but referees weren't buying it.
A nice steal there by number 3, Dizelle Wright, as the Owls applying the early full court press.
Nice steal and a better block. Omerovich getting a little bit of revenge. And Doug, we're 2:59 into this game, and if the rest of this game is going to be anywhere near the same amount of speed and athleticism, this is going to be a real fun one to watch. Keene State definitely ups the intensity and ups the speed of the game. So a good place for the Beacons to be in, though, because UMass Boston likes to push the pace, and that's where they're really at their best.
Yeah, you could see Keene State wanting to press early, starting his game off on the full court press as Joseph goes down there. No foul called as the Owls come the other way. 3 ball from Ozella. There's going to be a foul on the rebound. It's going to stay with the Owls. This foul is going to be called on number 35.
Yeah, that's going to be an offensive foul on Lunn, and I was going to be incredulous if it wasn't, because Lunn extended the elbow, and Luc Ulysse almost ended up running into the A-frames behind the basket about 10 feet back as he was shoved out of the way. Joseph thought he was fouled, and Lunn went to the ground like he made contact with Joseph. Interesting that there wasn't a call.
Turnover here as number 40, Nate Howard, comes away with the ball. Back out to Dizelle Wright, and this ball bounces out to Hamill. This is Doyle now for 3, won't go.
Yeah, Young was able to alter that shot, didn't get a piece of it.
As he knocks down a 3 of his own at the other end of the court.
This will be interesting. The Beacons only facing 7-footers in 3 games this year, and Howard is a legit 7 feet.
As he gets fouled right there. Howard is 20th in the nation in blocks, averaging 2.36 per game. Last year he led his team in scoring, rebounds, and blocks. And earlier this year he had a 9-block game against Western New England. He hits the line, shoot 2. He'll make the first. So we'll get some substitutions. Checking into the game for the Beacons, Steve McGuire and Karl Agenor.
And in for the Owls, it's number 15, Nick Gaglio.
As that free throw won't go, McGuire brings down the rebound. 3 from Benavicia, won't go. Ozella with the rebound. Ozella finds Gagliolo. Back over to Doyle. His jumper won't go. Rebound by Ulysse. Nice cutter there. Finds McGuire. Doesn't go.
Great pass from Young. McGuire was just going too fast. He really didn't have a chance to bank that one off the backboard. A great cut, though, from McGuire as he was running ahead of Howard.
As Howard with the chance. Doesn't go. Rebound by Agenor. Ooh, a little bit of miscommunication there. Ulysse and Benavicia thinking 2 different things as that pass goes directly out of bounds. And the Owls take over, trailing by 2.
Well, and that's a sign of just guys not being as familiar with each other. Ulysse has missed the past 6. Benavicia missed the first 4 games of the year. They played together the second half of last season when Ulysse joined the team, but just a little bit of rust from Ulysse, just not necessarily on the same wavelength.
This ball comes back out to Doyle. Doyle spins in the lane, and he travels.
It's a good hard move. I think it was a 50-50 call on the travel versus a bit of an elbow in his back that forced it, but Beacon's doing a nice job of sticking with Keene State early. The longer UMass Boston can stay in this game, the more confident they're going to be.
So this is Ulysse now. Swings it over to Young. Back to Ulysse at the top of the key. Young looking inside, but turns it over. This is Jaquel Edwards looking for a chance. Offensive rebound by Hamill, who put that back in to tie the game at 9.
Yeah, Benavicia got the block on Edwards. It's just there were no Beacons trailing the play in 2 Owls, so both Beacons went for the defense on Edwards, and it left the 2 trailers wide open.
Jump shot. That one's good for Ulysse.
And that's a good sign. Ulysse's been working out individually without the team. Hasn't been able to practice with the team for the past couple weeks, and he's really worked on his shot.
Another chance there as it goes out of bounds. Sitchell checks into the game for Keene State.
And back in for the Beacons, Carl Joseph, and Fred Epps gets his first appearance as Ulysse will take a break. Have to wonder if he's in complete game shape after missing a couple weeks. Epps has done a nice job in earning some extra playing time.
Looking inside there were the Owls, but wasn't able to be handled by Howard, so the Beacons will take over.
Yeah, UMass Boston has already been charged with 5 turnovers. That's the second on Keene State, and that's what Keene State's going to do to you. Beacons have actually been turning the ball over more in their half court rather than the full court pressure, but Keene State wants to turn you over, and that's why they are close to the lead, not only in steals per game, but also towards the top of the country in points per game.
Benavicia with a nice lay in there to open up the lead to 4. This is Stitchell now. Swings it over. The 3 ball from Jaquel Edwards. Rebound Agenor as that ball came loose. But the Beacons keep possession. Benavicia now. Drive to the lane is Joseph. Doesn't go. Offensive rebound by Epps. 3 ball from Benavicia. Doesn't go. As the Owls set up their half-court offense. Goes inside to Howard. They'll count the basket, and he'll get the foul.
An interesting continuation. The foul should be on Benabicha, who came down on the arm. There was an extra dribble and then the shot. As Benabicha will head to the bench. That's his first, only the second on the Beacons, but it's something the Beacons are going to struggle with all game long. They don't have a player anywhere near the same size. They're going to double team, but he's still big enough and strong enough to fight off those double teams. And if anything, the Beacons just need to avoid letting Howard catch the ball in the post.
Howard makes his free throw and closes the gap to 2. As number 15 from Keene State, Nick Gagliolo, will pick up his first foul.
So the Beacons are playing with some fire with some of these passes. They've had a couple of passes that end up in no man's land, and they're able to get to them just barely. But Beacons need to be crisper. They need to be better with their passes if they're going to maintain this lead and even keep this game within striking distance.
Nice look inside to Epps. Doesn't go, but then there will be a foul on the rebound.
Yeah, Agenor got a push in the back, and it'll be Edwards with the foul. That time Epps missed a wide-open Agenor, who drew the defender down low, but strong move by the freshman, who is being encouraged to shoot the ball a little bit more frequently in his second semester.
Nice chance by Young. Doesn't go. Rebound still loose. Players from both teams in on it, so we're going to get a tie-up. Possession arrow favors the Owls. They will take over, trailing by 1.
Well, if you're smaller, what do you have to do? You have to do team rebounding, and that time both Epps and McGuire went for the rebound, and they were able to at least tie it up and gain the possession arrow back for the next tie-up.
Stitchell back to Howard. Howard goes up and under, puts it in. Give the Owls the lead.
Once again, not much you can do against Howard, and Howard's starting to feel a little bit more confident after coming off the bench.
Ball comes inside to Joseph, who will lay it in. Give his team back the lead, 15-14 now. Almost halfway through the first half of Game 2 of today's Beacons basketball doubleheader. Edwards gets fouled.
Going to be Joseph's first. Joseph can't believe it as he went for the strip. And the Beacons continuing to try to keep fresh legs out there as Ulysse and Omerovich check back in for Epps and McGuire. That's good minutes out of two guys who don't necessarily see a ton of minutes, McGuire and Epps, as UMass Boston's going to have to go 10-11 deep to really stay fresh against this pressure defense of Keene State.
They haven't let up yet. Been full court pressing the whole game as that three goes by Stitchell. And
Young was testing Stitchell, trying to see if he would actually take the shot, and Stitchell eventually did. Pretty nice stroke.
Joseph with a nice jumper there. Tie the game back up at 17.
Currently we're on pace for about a 40-point first half, which is actually low for Keene State.
As that ball's thrown away by Paul Emden. So the Beacons take over. Zell Wright back into the game for the Owls.
Yeah, Doug, Keene State's already gone 10 deep. The Beacons have gone 8 deep, so can really expect to see everyone come in. UMass Boston doesn't normally run more than 9 or 10 players, but they might have to go deeper into their bench than normal.
Again, part of this has to do with their decision the last game as Young drives the lane and scores the basket. But all 18 players saw action for Keene State in their last game against LaSalle. Obviously, the score had a little bit to do with that as they beat the Lasers 93-69. Jump shot there by Doyle.
It's a very nice play by Tom Doyle, able to spin and get an open look. Keene State, a very good shooting team.
Young spins inside and is fouled. So he'll head to the line shooting 2.
And the Beacons have done a nice job the past couple possessions of finding the mismatch. Karl Agenor, the last possession, was matched up against, I believe it was Wright, and he was looking for the ball, couldn't get it, but the Beacons are finding whoever isn't being guarded by Howard, having Howard go away from the basket and then trying to take it down in hard. And Greg Young, despite his size at 6'5", is really a player who's adept at playing down near the rim and has a couple of post moves that can confound his opponents.
So Howard will come out of the game, as will Jaquel Edwards, as Ozella and Murphy come back into the game for the Owls. Young knocks down the second free throw. One-point lead for the Beacons. Doyle, nice fake there, gets inside for the J, doesn't go. Rebound by Agenor. Jump shot by Joseph from 16 feet. That'll go. And the Beacons open the lead back up to 3. Fast up the court. Gazelle Wright with the lay-in. Great speed here in this game as the Owls have started to drop back. No longer pressing off that make. As they'll grab the rebound here. Push the ball up court. Long pass from Doyle looking for Jeff Lunn. Left it a little bit short. The Beacons will take over. As Young drives the lane, it's going to be off him and out of bounds as the Owls get control back.
Yeah, strong move from Young. He thought he drew a little bit of contact as he'll head to the bench with Omar Benavicha back in. On the last possession, it looked like Omerovich was clearly fouled on the arm, but no call coming as he came up well short on the free throw line jumper.
Good pace so far to this game as this ball comes inside looking for Lunn as he's fouled.
It's going to be the second on Omerovich, so see if the Beacons go back to the bench. Omerovich didn't come in more than a minute and 30 seconds ago as the Young is still a little bit tired, and they're going to stick with Omerovich rather than bring McGuire back in.
Hamill back into the game for the Owls. As this will find Ozella for the easy lay in there.
Yeah, and they went right in and attacked Omerovich. Ozella was left alone. That's someone's mistake on the defensive end. Omerovich had to come over, but didn't try to block the shot, really just tried to get in his way and avoid picking up a third.
Good bounce pass there into Joseph. Swung over to Omerovich. Omerovich back out to Benavicha. His shot doesn't go. The Owls pushing now. 3 ball from Doyle. Front rims it. Rebound Benavicha. Beacons find Joseph in the corner. He's fouled. That's going to be 2. That foul is on Doyle. I believe that's his second. 6 fouls now for the Owls. 1 more, and the Beacons will be shooting 1-on-1 for the remainder of the half. Still 8 minutes remaining in this opening half. As Joseph knocks down that free throw. He has 9 points so far on the day, 4 of 8 shooting. 1 for 1 from the line.
And Karl was in a bit of a scoring slump. First 2 weeks back from break, he's really found his touch over the past 3 games, and that's good news for the Beacons as he's second in the conference right now behind only Trayshawn Preston of Eastern Connecticut State in scoring. Rather, Jordan Resendez from UMass Dartmouth at 22.6. Preston, of course, is in the top 5 and was close to the top.
This is Benavicha with a nice lay-in. Off the turnover. Good steal there by Ulysse. This one's by Agenor, and he's fouled going to the basket.
Well, both teams can play this game. If Keene State's going to full court press, well, the Beacons are going to put in a different kind of full court pressure where it's only one player, but Luc Ulysse has such quick hands, and he doesn't have any fouls, I believe, yet. Well, you can afford to have him get a bit of aggressive trying to surprise Keene State. Back-to-back turnovers forced in their own backcourt, and now the Beacons pushing the lead out a little bit here as UMass Boston was looking tired there, maybe not used to this kind of pace in the first half, and now they've got a little bit of momentum after the back-to-back steals.
Yeah, they seem to have figured it out a little bit, and they're throwing a little bit of Keene State's game back in their phases. Both teams like to pressure, they like to steal, score off turnovers, and it's making for a very exciting first half so far as Wright with the jumper will rim out and go out of bounds, and the Beacons will take over. 7.5 minutes remaining here at the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium. Beacons lead by 4. Benavicia goes inside to Joseph. Joseph back over to Agenor. Agner's jumper won't go. Keene State will push it. Giselle Wright with the lay-in. That'll go. Good look for Lucas Hamill, finding him cutting on the left side.
Yeah, well, Keene State has been implementing this 2-3 zone over the past couple minutes, and the Beacons are finding the players along the baseline rather than at the free throw line. That's where they're choosing to attack.
Benavicia with the 3 from the baseline. Rebound offensive by Agenor, who will put back his own try.
Agenor is up to 5 rebounds, and with Howard out of the game, he's really able to sky over all of the Keene State bigs.
Doyle thought about driving the lane, but he decides to reset. Back out to Hamill.
Beacons in a 2-3 zone of their own.
3 ball from Hamill. Doesn't go. A little bit of miscommunication as 2 Beacons went up for the rebound. But lucky that'll bounce off a Keene State defender, and the Beacons will keep possession.
Doug, I'm not so sure if it did. That one went off of Benavicia, off of Omerovich. There might have been a tip, but that's just miscommunication. Omerovich easily could have had that rebound, but Benavicia at the top of his jump couldn't handle it, and that's fortunate for UMass Boston to not give Keene another possession.
Benavicia now drives. That's going to be tied up by Hamill. And this is where that hustle. Oh, no, they're going to call a foul. Foul is on number 14, Lucas Hamill.
No, I think they're just going to keep the ball with the Beacons. At least they haven't announced it. And the Beacons will have a timeout, and we'll figure it out.
It looked like the official on the near side had a foul, but
they are going to switch the possession arrow, so it'll be with the Beacons.
So what I was going to say before I misspoke is that's where that tie-up earlier in the half really caused the advantage. We talked about it down here where they weren't able to give Keene State enough extra possession. Here, because of the tie-up down low, they don't give the ball up down here as well.
And, Doug, you talk about the anatomy of an upset. I think this would be an upset today. Keene State at 13-3, 4-2 in the conference. The Beacons just 1-5 in the conference. And Keene State also sporting a 13-3 mark. The Beacons 9-8. They've lost 4 in a row. I wouldn't call this a massive upset, but talking about the anatomy of an upset. And the first thing is you have to keep it close. You don't want to be coming down as the big-time underdog from 15, 20 points down in the second half. The longer you keep it close, the more the impetus goes on to the favorite of the pressure, all that kind of stress. The other thing is you have to do a good job of avoiding turnovers. The Beacons only with 6 after turning it over 5 times in the opening 7 or 8 minutes, and you have to hit your shots. The Beacons have done a decent job of that, 46.2%. Thus far, UMass Boston is doing everything they need to do to not only stick with Keene, but to have this 4-point advantage.
6 minutes left in the first half as Benavicia will inbound from the baseline. Driving the lane is Ulysse, who doesn't go. The Owls look for a quick transition. Wright's layup didn't go. The Beacons come away with it.
Don't know if either coach is going to be happy with that awkward-looking layup as both guys tried to do the reverse rather than drawing the contact.
A nice block there by Omerovich on that chance by the Owls.
Salim has 2 blocks today. Both of them have been pretty emphatic. Salim is listed at 6'4", 195, but he's one of the better post defenders for the Beacons because he's willing to put in all of the energy, all of the hustle, and he's willing to really bang bodies down low. He's done a nice job in the middle of this 2-3 defense.
Howard is back into the game for the Owls. He's hanging out on the blocks. Layup attempt there by Wright, as Benavici will get on the ground to try to keep that ball, but it'll slide out of bounds. The Owls will take possession.
Good hustle play, though. Omar knew that otherwise it was going to end up in the hands of a Keene State player, and sometimes you can't stop your own momentum. But I'm sure that play is going to be something that the coaches are going to look positively at, because it shows that UMass Boston is really putting it all on the floor, quite literally, in trying to come away with the big conference win.
A big one it would be, just their second of the year. Be exactly halfway through the conference schedule. .14 seconds left on the shot clock as it's going to stay with the Owls. Just 9 seconds left to shoot. .7 seconds left to shoot. I'm not sure the Owls know it. Yes, they do, as this three-pointer doesn't go for number 25, Carlos O'Valley.
Yeah, and when you're Keene State and you're used to scoring so quickly, 9 seconds isn't that difficult of a task.
So this is Young, kicks it back out. That three will go for Ulysse. Ulysse in his first game back after a 6-game absence. Now has 5 on the afternoon. And he'll pick up the foul here. His first of the afternoon.
Yeah, Gregory Young was there. He thought he had the clean block. So Beacons now with 5 team fouls on 5 different players. For Keene State, they have 17 fouls, with Ozella and Doyle picking up 2 apiece.
It looks like Keene State's going to take a timeout here. Try and figure out what they want to do. They're trailing by 7 now, Seth. And so far, we've seen a little bit slowed down pace here, as Keene State is trying to set up their offense a little bit more, not pushing it off of their inbound passes as much. And part of that has to probably have to do with the way the Beacons are shooting right now. They're really forcing the Owls' hands here.
And Doug, not to go away from that thought process, we can talk about that in a sec, but just completely came to my mind, both teams are supporting the coaches versus cancer. Keene State's coaching staff all wearing sneakers, and you just saw a nice zoomed-in angle. If you were wondering why you were seeing Charlie Titus's sneakers, Charlie Titus and the Beacons coaching staff sporting sneakers as well, as I was a little confused as to why assistant coach Hamza Abdul was sporting bright green dress shoes, and now it makes a little bit more sense. But, I mean, if you're Keene State right now, you know you can score points in bunches. What you need to do is figure out a way to slow down the Beacons' offense a little bit. They do give up 76.1 points per game, but when you're scoring at such a prolific rate, you're giving the other team more possessions. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily a bad defensive team. If you're UMass Boston, the biggest thing is to keep this energy level up. That's going to be the hardest part. Can you maintain and sustain this energy for 40 minutes against the Keene State team that they have so many players they can bring off the bench? You know they're going to be able to do it.
They're coming inside to Howard. Howard, strong move there, but his layup doesn't go, and the Beacons come away, and they're looking to transition quickly. Bounce pass back to Ulysse, whose shot doesn't go. Rebound Agenor. Agenor with a chance. That one will go.
And I love the chemistry between Greg Young and Luc Ulysse. They formerly played together at Roxbury Community College, and it shows when they run the break. They instinctively know where the other one's going to be.
Doyle's three doesn't go. Benavici with the rebound as the Beacons try to push again. Ulysse over to Benavici, back to Ulysse with the lay-in.
Back-to-back times the Beacons have got the long rebound and looked to push a 4-on-2. Wasn't the perfect execution, but it worked anyways.
11-point lead now for the Beacons. With just 3 minutes left in the half, they go inside to Howard as the Owls get a bucket from Howard inside.
Yeah, and UMass Boston's not going to be able to keep Howard off the scoreboard. What they need to do is avoid picking up too many fouls on him and try to limit his production. They've done a nice job doubling down and even tripling down without giving a lot of open looks to other players.
Agenor with a nice move there inside to get the bucket.
He's had a nice game with 7 points and 5 rebounds thus far.
Edwards with the shot. Rebound, Agenor. It's a 3-ball by McGuire, and that'll give the Beacons their biggest lead of the day with 14.
Yeah, there's the trademark 3 from McGuire as Edwards comes back and has a chance for 3 points of his own. Steven was trying to be unselfish, give it back to Benavicia. Benavicia drew the coverage, and then Steve McGuire, he's a big, but he loves shooting threes, and he's quite good at it. And he had that patented three-pointer that is a rainbow. He loves to watch the replays and see if his three actually can be seen on the camera. Sometimes it comes out of the lens of our camera. It goes so high, but that's a big 3 from McGuire and a big answer from Edwards to at least get 2 and drawing the foul against Agenor, his first.
As Ulysse goes coast to coast, basket will count, and he's fouled.
Well, it's a little bit of anything you can do, I can do better, and this game just continuing to prove how quickly points can be thrown in. It was 17-17 with 11 minutes to go. It looked like this game might be 40-40 at halftime. Well, Beacons are on pace to score close to 50 now, and Keene State hasn't been scoring as prolifically here with just 29 points.
As Howard will come away with that rebound. 3-ball from Gagliolo. Doesn't go. And the Beacons on the attack again. 3-point attempt from Young. Ball will go out of bounds. Owls keep possession.
And UMass Boston's passing the ball so well that on that opposite side, you saw Ulysse and Young going back and forth. It forces the defender to pick who am I going to guard. Otherwise, you're giving both players an open 3-point look. Thus far, UMass Boston's doing a really nice job of moving the ball well and creating good looks.
Young misses the shot off the spin, and Agenor with the rebound. That shot won't go for Young. Howard with the rebound. Turnover here. This is the Beacons with a chance. This is Ulysse who will lay it in off the glass.
And Keene State's going to have to work on their transition defense. Beacons that time essentially had a 2-on-0, but right now, if you looked at the records, you would think that the Beacons were the team that was 13-3 rather than Keene State. Everything's going UMass Boston's way. And yesterday might have helped the Beacons just a little bit more after the game on Thursday night where they had to play their starters the full way. They were with Tufts into the second half. An extra day helped them, whereas Keene State was able to rest some of their starters against LaSalle College in the big blowout.
Yeah, this is the difference between opponents in that regard. That lost to Tufts on January 20th. Carl Joseph led the way in that game with 24 points, 13 from the line. But the Beacons were held to just 38% shooting, 38.7% shooting in that game. Right now they're shooting 51%, and that's what's helped them build such a big lead here tonight.
Yeah, and you look at the statistics, Ulysse with 11, Joseph with 10, Young with 6, Agenor with 7, just like the women's team did in the first game. Balanced contributions. We expected to see that out of Keene State. The Beacons have done just as good of a job with their men's team as their women's team did. And looking at the turnovers, the Beacons had 5 of the first 6 turnovers in this game. Since then, UMass Boston has just 1 turnover after that last one, That's 8 turnovers in the first half on Keene State, and the Beacons are out-rebounding Keene State by 2 thus far. That's a bit of a surprise as Keene State came in averaging over a 7-rebound margin per game, whereas the Beacons were at negative -0.1.
Beacons in possession now as Young drives, goes up and under, 4-2. Final minute of play here in the first half. Game 2 of our Beacons basketball doubleheader. The Owls try to go inside to Young, comes back out to Ozella. Long jumper by Young, doesn't go. Looks like the Beacons are going to look for the last shot here.
And it's interesting, everyone's playing so well, as right now Young will be the facilitator with under 10 to go.
He'll give it up to Benavica, who's going to step back. Not sure if that ball was partially blocked. Didn't quite make it to the basket, as that will do it for the half, with the Beacons leading 47-29.
Just a tremendous finish to the half. 17-17 with 11 minutes to go. The Beacons finished the half on a 30-12 run. Easily the best half of basketball the Beacons have played since returning from break. UMass Boston played so well first semester. They pushed the ball. They were really able to spread the ball around. Since break, though, UMass Boston has lost 5 of their past 6. 6 lost, 5 of their past 6. They're 2-6 overall since break. And this is the kind of basketball that the Beacons were hoping to play in the second semester. And I think a huge part of this has to be credited to having Luc Ulysse back. Not just because of his team leading 11 points, but because of the energy, the enthusiasm, and the confidence that he brings to the rest of the team when he's around.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a break here at the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium. You're listening to men's basketball. Beacons lead 47-29 here on the Beacons Broadcast Network. All right, welcome back to the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium here on the Beacons Broadcast Network. In Game 2, our Beacons basketball doubleheader, the men's basketball team from UMass Boston leads Keene State 47-29. And Seth, strong finish there by the Beacons. They finished the game in the finished the half, in the final 8 minutes on a 24-6 run, really pushing the play, kind of putting Keene State's game right back in their face.
Yeah, and a lot of times you talk about turning offense into defense. The Beacons were turning long rebounds into fast break opportunities. The Beacons doing such a great job of pushing the ball. When Nate Howard's out there, UMass Boston isn't going to get a ton inside. Howard is one of the best shot blockers in the conference for a reason. He's 7 feet tall, he's long, and he's a little bit more nimble than a lot of 7-footers you see at this level. A lot of 7-footers at Division III are here because they're not as refined. Maybe they're a little bit bigger and clumsier, or maybe they're just a little bit raw. So he definitely has his skill set, and he's very good at it. So the Beacons have done a nice job, and when you look at the statistics, the thing that jumps out, the Beacons shooting the ball so well today, and once again, Keene State, their men's team, just as the women's team, not shooting especially well in the first half, as the Beacons have done a nice job of playing defense, and Keene State just has struggled a little bit with the rims here at the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium. Wasn't a problem the first time these two teams played. They put up 107 on UMass Boston. Right now they're on pace for 58.
Yeah, quite a difference there, and as you mentioned, the shooting has been the difference. The Beacons shooting 51% in the first half compared to Keene State's 32.5%. But as far as rebounds go, they've been pretty even on that. And we've seen how fast this Keene State team likes to play, so they can generate offense pretty quickly. So this lead is by no means out of reach for them.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about a team from Rhode Island College who put up 93 in their last game, 92 in back-to-back games before that. The lowest they've been during this 5-game win streak was 87 points at Fitchburg State. This team can easily come out and score 50 points and a half. The difficult part for Keene State is, can they limit the Beacons offensively? 18 points, that's a sizable lead. But if you chip away at it a little bit every 2 to 3 minutes, if you get to within 4 or 5 in the final 5 minutes, Keene State can easily come back from that. So the big thing is UMass Boston has to continue playing unselfishly. They have to keep this pace, and they have to have legs left in the final 10 minutes. That's going to be the test. Keene State knows they can continue this pace. Can UMass Boston do it playing a slightly smaller rotation of players?
Yeah. As you mentioned, Keene State, top offense in the conference. They also give up a lot of points on the back end. As teams are able to break that press, they're able to get those easy layups on the back end. As we take a look at the team leaders for the first half, Ulysse back into the lineup for the Beacons. He's been playing very well, leading the team in points, assists, and steals for today's game.
Yeah, I really like it when I pick out the player to watch and they're good. I mean, Luke would be happy with those numbers for a game. The first time out, he had 14 points and 9 rebounds. Actually, that was last year against Keene State in his first meeting with the Owls. Didn't play as well up at Keene State in the first matchup this season, but Luke has obviously meant a lot to this team coming back today, and Howard has led Keene State with 8 points. Doyle with those 2 fouls, though. He went 1 of 7 from the field, 0 for 3 from distance, had just 2 points, well below his season average of 18. So Beacons have done a nice job of giving Howard what Howard's going to get and slowing down the other options for Keene State. And look for UMass Boston to make a statement out of halftime. These first 2 minutes are very important for both teams. Can the Beacons extend this lead, or can Keene State cut into a little bit and start to gain some hope that, yes, this game is still within reach?
Yeah, the Owls are going to want to try to get Tommy Doyle back involved in this game, as that lay-in from Ozella doesn't go.
And once again, Omerovich back out on the floor for the first time in a while after picking up that second foul. Still trying to avoid foul number 3. And Ozella just unfortunate to not get the finish.
This ball's going to be kicked out to Hamill.
Nearly a 5-second violation.
Hamill Top of the key, sends it over to Ozella. A little bit of an errant pass as Tom Doyle is able to pick it up. But then it's sent back into the backcourt, and it's going to be a backcourt violation on the Owls.
So not the kind of possession that Keene State wanted to open the half. Missed layup, couple of errant passes, and a turnover. And now UMass Boston will see where they look early on. Normally, coaches will script up maybe the first two or three plays of the next half, trying to get something going.
Benavicia with the J. Rebound number 24, Rodney Jean-Marie. Excuse me, 14, Lucas Hamill. Another errant pass there as the Beacons will take over. So not the way the Owls wanted to come out here in the second half. 2 turnovers on their first 2 possessions so far.
Yeah, and that's the 9th and 10th turnovers. The Beacons, we've harped on it a couple times. 5 turnovers in the early going. That was nearly a 6th. But only 6 for the game thus far. The Beacons have done a great job of avoiding the turnovers. And just as I say that, Greg Young gets called for the extra step. But just 7, and honestly, that's the biggest key for UMass Boston, avoiding the turnovers, because turnovers are going to lead to Keene State points. Keene State's very good at turning defense into offense.
We're going to get a foul here on the ground. Foul's going to be on Omerovich, his 3rd. So he does pick up that 3rd foul, and he'll have to come out of the game. He'll be replaced by senior captain Steve McGuire. Back into the game.
And that's significant. McGuire stands about the same height at 6'4", but McGuire's not as good of a post defender, as Omerovich has a little bit of strength on him. And it'll be interesting to see if the Beacons can keep Keene State out of the post and keep Keene State from getting a lot of points in the paint over the next couple of minutes with Omerovich on the bench with those 3 fouls.
Still no scoring here in the second half. We're 2 minutes in, as shots have not been dropping. A few turnovers by either team. Ulysse finds Young on the wing. Into Benavicia, who will lay it up, but blocked by Doyle.
Good clean block from Doyle, playing with those 2 fouls, and got all ball.
That's Doyle's 2nd block of the game, as Wright gives us our first points of the second half. Keene State back into that full court press. They open the half with that after dropping back into a 2-3 zone, playing half court basketball in the late periods of that first half.
Yeah, now they're back into the man-to-man. The Beacons just have to find the spot in the defense that they have the advantage.
There was a weakness there as Ulysse drives the lane for the bucket. Doyle answers at the other end with a jumper of his own.
Yeah, well, the issue for Keene State is Luc Ulysse playing the point. He's working against Doyle, but he's got a couple of inches. He's a little bit longer as well.
And the Beacons just get it across half court. Shot there by Ulysse. And then we have a foul coming up.
Yeah, Joseph did a great job of stripping Jeff Lund, who didn't even know Joseph was there, and then Joseph went up hard, and Lund forced to foul him. And that's a big play from one of the Beacon senior captains. So he realized that Beacon struggling to score, shots aren't necessarily falling, and goes up hard, earns the foul, and now will have a chance to add to his point total. Joseph had 10 points early, hasn't scored since about the 5-minute mark of the first half.
He'll get one here on the first free throw. 3 for 3 from the line now for Joseph. Beacons lead by 17. Second one rims out as Ozala brings down the defensive rebound. Doyle open in the corner. To drive the lane, blocked by Young, out of bounds.
And Young is listed as a guard / a forward, so he's not one of the bigger guys on the team, but leads the Beacons in blocks this year with 23 alongside Karl Joseph.
Doyle tried to get it quickly into Ozella, but turned it over. We're going to get a blocking foul at the other end. It's going to be on, I believe, Jeff Lem. Nope. It's going to be on number 1, Nate Stitchell. His first. So Joseph will go back to the line.
Well, that's another instance where Beacons weren't necessarily making the greatest of decisions, as Ulysse couldn't quite handle it, but Joseph following up on the play, finds the loose ball, goes hard to the rim, and when you're aggressive, things are going to go your way. And Doug, we talked about the need to win first 2 to 3 minutes. Well, through 3 minutes and 30 seconds, the Beacons' lead is right back where it was at 18 points. Good start for the Beacons as Keene State now has 16 and a half minutes to cut into the 18-point deficit rather than a full 20.
And another turnover here as the Beacons start to push. Gregory Young with the lay-in. 20-point lead now for the Beacons.
And Young, the third player into double figures for the Beacons with 10.
And he's going to pick up a foul here. His first, team second.
Yeah, just got a little bit too over-eager after the Beacons forced a turnover on the last possession. He was riding right the whole way, and that was an easy call for the referees.
So the Beacons looking to play some strong defense here as they try to maintain this 20-point lead. As that basket's going to count. Tom Doyle trying to complete the 3-point play.
I believe the foul's going to go against Stephen McGuire. They're actually going to call it against Omar Benabicha. I'm surprised by that. It didn't look like he was really in the play, but that's something that the Beacons miss with Omarovich out of the game. McGuire doesn't really post up as much in the lane on defense. And also, Tom Doyle has done a great job here in the second half of being more assertive, trying to get his team back into the game. He's done his job, as Young's going to have to be very acrobatic to save it, and does so.
Charlie Titus emphatically calls that timeout, wants to regroup his team. As they lead by 17 now. About 16 minutes left here in the second half. And as you mentioned, the Owls are gonna have to turn to Tom Doyle to get them back into this game. He's been one of their best players all year long. The first game against the Beacons, he scored 23, and the Beacons were able to hold him to just 1 of 7 shooting in the first half.
I mean, he has 5 of the team's 7 points to start the second half, but on the other side, Keene State also has 5 turnovers in the opening 4 minutes and 15 seconds. That's just not acceptable when you're trailing by 18. If you're going to get back into the game, you have to be the crisper team. You have to be unselfish, and you have to avoid the turnovers. And that's why Keene State, who came in as the clear favorite, has struggled. The Beacons, 7 turnovers, and UMass Boston's turned those 13 Keene turnovers into a 15-4 advantage in points off of turnovers, as Keene State's actually done a better job on the boards here in the second half after being down by 2 rebounds in the first half. Keene State has taken a 4-rebound advantage. They've done a better job on the glass, but their turnovers are now what's really becoming an Achilles heel for Keene State.
This is Young in the lane. He'll get 2. Leads back up to 19. 3 ball from Doyle. That'll be good.
And that's a good job. Howard just back into the game, and Keene State goes into Howard. The Beacons defense compresses. Doyle comes off a screen. Benabicha couldn't get there in time. The Beacons need to key on Doyle rather than Howard. Doyle's going to hurt you from 3. Doyle's going to also hurt you from 2, but those 3 points are going to help Keene State a lot more. So if you're going to double down on Howard, the player you can't afford to lose is Doyle, who's really started to heat up with 10 points in the second half.
This is Joseph now. 4-3. Doesn't go. Rebound right. Doyle tries again. Doesn't go, but Edwards is there for the rebound and the putback.
Yeah, Benavicia got underneath Doyle, forced him to alter that shot. That's something that a lot of refs have keyed on this year.
As Joseph goes in for the easy lay-in. Wright answers on the other end. Speed of this game picking back up, Seth.
Yeah, the first 3 minutes were a track meet. This is becoming a sprint.
Another lay-in there, this one by McGuire. Teams trading layups right now. And at this point, the Beacons will be okay with that, with the huge lead, as Doyle's shot won't go. Young gives it up to Benavicia.
And that's an instance where Keene State gives up a 2-on-1. It's a tremendous play by Nate Stitchell to strip Benavicia the ball. Almost had it go off of Benavicia, but there were two other players who were trailing, actually three other Keene State players trying to get back on defense, and they let Benavicia get right by them. That's just a lack of hustling down court, as the Beacons should have been able to get 2 more points on that last fast break opportunity.
Well done by Stitchell to prevent that from happening. Beacons still in possession here. Young tries to give it up to McGuire. Can't handle the pass. Ozella the other way. He'll lay it back in, get the basket and the foul.
Great play by Matt Ozella. Poor play on both ends of the floor from Gregory Young, as Young tried to force a pass into a cutting McGuire, and then he knew what was going to happen if he tried to come up and under. More times than not, you're not only going to be called for the foul, but if you don't provide enough contact, it's going to still be a makeable layup. And in that situation, if you provide too much pressure, then you're going to be called for a flagrant foul. There's nothing good that can happen of going underneath a player on a layup attempt, because it's a dangerous play, and here's a chance to cut the deficit down to 13.
It doesn't, as Ozella misses the rebound. Misses the free throw. Agenor with the floater. Long rebound comes out to Edwards. Edwards is going to be called for the offensive foul. Well done there, as Benavicia got himself set to cause the turnover.
Interesting to see if he got himself completely set, but he really baited Edwards there. And on that last possession, if you're Karl Agenor, if you've drawn Howard, the 7-footer, that far away from the basket, give it up. Find Gregory Young. Find Carl Joseph, someone who can post up down low. Find Salim Omerovich, as that was almost a 10-second call. And then let them pound inside rather than trying to take Howard off the dribble. He really never got enough separation to get a good look.
His ball is turned over again. Howard will give it up to Ozella. Ozella with a lay-in attempt. Doesn't go. Nice hustle by Benavicia to get to that ball, but he'll step out of bounds, and Keene State will maintain possession.
Doug, I feel like I've been harping on it all day long. When you're being guarded on a 2-on-1, give it up. That time Ozella had Howard, who managed to run the floor there after almost turning the ball over with his pass. He was open on the other side. He's 7 feet tall. Give it up to him. It's a very easy layup when you're only 3 feet away from the basket when you catch the ball.
As this ball will be tied up between Edwards and Agenor. Possession arrow favors the Beacons.
It's the third tie-up we've had today, and all three, well, 2 of the 3 have come in the Beacons' favor. There was a very nice block on Benavicia.
Heavy pressure put on now by the Owls. Guess that ball was thrown off of Howard.
Yeah, it's an acrobatic catch from Omerovich, who was really close to the sideline, and realizing that Howard wasn't going to give him any kind of passing lane. A nice job to keep it with the Beacons. Now we'll see Karl Joseph check back in for Gregory Young.
Agenor being defended by Howard. Howard with that long reach was able to knock it loose, but the Beacons keep possession. Good bounce pass there by Ulysse into Omerovich. No good there. The other end, the shot doesn't go for Edwards.
And I think Howard's going to be called for going over the back. It's not hard for Nate Howard to go over the back of anyone on the floor. It's been interesting to see now that Howard comes out, it's not as prescient, but the Beacons have done a nice job of forcing Howard away from the basket, just unable to put some points on the board when they go into the paint.
Good effort there by Ulysse to just fight through that press. At the other end, no good for Omerovich. He thought he was contacted. Appealed to the referee for a foul call. No such luck. But there is going to be a foul at the other end.
Should be Agenor's second.
It is indeed. And UMass Boston is going to take a timeout. 14-point lead now, Seth. The Beacons still maintaining a sizable margin, but they're also starting to give up a few more chances at their end of the court.
Yeah, Keene State's doing a better job of getting looks. Doyle was hot to start, and that definitely helped Keene State get into their offense, but now Keene State's doing a better job of getting some points in transition, and UMass Boston's not hitting their layups. Omerovich had back-to-back difficult shots, but you need to get at least one of those two to go down. Then Agenor couldn't make the catch cleanly. It allowed the defender to get over, and the Beacons had to reset. The Beacons can continue getting those easy points, which they did very well in the first half. That's how they're really going to stay comfortable with this lead. Keene State was trailing by 18 with 15 minutes and 45 seconds. 3 minutes and 40 seconds later, they've cut it to 14. So they won that 3-minute battle. Now the next 3-minute section. Can they find a way by the 9-minute mark to get this to a single-digit game? They can do that, then they're right back in it. Then they have a chance to cut it to 5 by the 5-minute mark. That's what you need to do if you're going to be coming back, unless you're going to do it all in one spurt with a 12-0, a 14-0 run. Thus far, the Beacons haven't allowed Keene State to go on any significant kind of run, so they have to take it in spurts.
And then those last few those late opportunities, we're going to see how Keene State's high-pressure defense is going to affect the Beacons coming down the stretch. So maybe if they can get that lead down a little bit, they might have the advantage in the final few minutes. The Owls in possession now. They find Doyle on the right side. Go inside to Lunn, who's going to get fouled.
And that was unfortunate. Doyle tried a shovel pass that went off of Agenor. He almost had the catch and the steal. And that's the second foul on Joseph now. So he's got 2. Young's got 2. Menabicha has 2. Omerovich with the 3 fouls. The Beacons, remember, with that smaller rotation, foul trouble could come into play. Lunn with the first free throw. So some of the bounces now heading the Keene State way. And that's going to happen in a game as it'll balance itself out. But this is a big spot right now if you're UMass Boston, as Young will come back in. And Omerovich with the 3 fouls, checking back out. A short spurt for him. Beacons need to take care of the basketball. They need to come up with some points. They can just match Keene State scoring point for point. They'll be in a really good spot.
They're able to break the press this time. The ball inside.
See the Beacons bench just confounded by their inability to get a look there. They had 3 players down low with only 1 player in the paint, and none of the players elected to take a shot.
Shot clock's down to 10. Ulysse almost lost it. Handled back by Joseph. 3 seconds left to shoot. As Ulysse goes to the lane, he'll get the basket and the foul.
Yeah, that's a real strong move from Luc Ulysse. The dribble behind his back created a little bit of space. He went hard, through a little bit of traffic, and Luc Ulysse continuing to prove how much his absence meant to this team during the 4-game losing streak. He's had a phenomenal first game back.
Misses the free throw, however, but he has 15 points on the afternoon. As this is a nice pass into Lunn. He might have walked a bit. Misses the layup. handled by Agenor. At the other end, Benavicia with the lay-in.
Yeah, great vision from Young. Saw Benavicia the whole way and a perfect pass.
This pass comes out to Doyle. Doyle with the jumper. Doesn't go. Agenor with the rebound. Lead back up to 16 for the Beacons. Young, defended by Doyle. He's going to travel about halfway through the second half here at the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium. Doug Chin, Seth Orensky on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
And Doug, remember, the Beacons haven't beaten Keene State in quite a while. They've lost 10 straight against the Owls. And with this being Charlie Titus's last year, he would love to end that streak.
Three chance by Gagliolo.
As Rob Colbert has been behind the Keene State bench for the past 16 years. These guys go way back.
The Owls come down with the rebound. Nice no-look pass there by Stitchell, but can't be finished on the other end by Doyle.
Yeah, 3-on-1 chance. The only good thing for the Beacons was players got back there to help out Luc Ulysse.
Young with the three. Opens the lead back up to 19.
But that's a 5-point swing. You have a 3-on-1, you expect to get 2 points. On the other side, no one stepped out on Young. Young was able to really get into rhythm, and the Beacons just starting to show here in the second half why they had so much success in the first half. They're making the right decisions. They're pushing the ball, and Keene State surprisingly isn't able to keep up with the Beacons' pace in transition.
And another thing, the Beacons not giving the Owls a lot of second chance opportunities. The Owls one of the better offensive rebounding teams in the conference, and that's what's helped them build this lead up. They haven't been giving the Owls opportunities off their misses.
It's a great pass from Nate Stitchell down low for an easy bucket. Stitchell was just a gun of a pass there down low. And that's what Keene State needs. They need a couple of easy points to gain their confidence, as the Beacons have actually started to add to their lead over the past couple minutes. We talked about the 9-minute mark. Well, it's a 17-point lead. UMass Boston's gone +3 over the past 3 minutes, and it's just making the task harder and harder for Keene State.
As Ulysse will lay this one in. He now is 17 on the afternoon, as the Owls will take a timeout with 8.5 minutes remaining here.
Well, Luc Ulysse is going to be sore tomorrow. That much I know. Not playing a game in 3 weeks, it doesn't matter how much you play one-on-one. It doesn't matter how many shots you put up. You're going to be sore, although he was taking a dance class over J-term, doing a lot of push-ups, doing a lot of crunches. So maybe he won't be as sore as I think, but he has been a difference maker today. Forget the team leading 17 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, shooting 75% from the field, the most efficient player on the floor, and it's taken the pressure off of Gregory Young and Carl Joseph, who have had to pick up even more of the scoring slack with Ulysse out. I'm not going to go too far ahead of this game, but with Ulysse back and looking the way he has, and Omar Benavicia continuing to really play well after this recent streak, UMass Boston could have a chance to build and put together a couple of wins. They've got Southern Maine, who's winless in conference, on Tuesday. That's a home game. Then they travel to Rhode Island College, one of the toughest places to play. But after that, Eastern Connecticut State. So if you can get 2 wins back-to-back, it could offset potentially 1 or 2 wins. And then to finish off the season, they have UMass Dartmouth, who, despite not playing well, they only lost by 10 at Dartmouth this past Tuesday. You've got Plymouth State, who has just 1 conference win. Then you travel to Southern Maine, who, once again, winless, and play a Western Connecticut State team where the Beacons were leading in the second half. You could finish off the season plausibly with 4 consecutive victories if you can continue to play at a high level. Victory against Southern Maine, that's 5 wins down the stretch. The Beacons finish at 7-7. That'd be a markedly better record than a year ago when they went 0-14 in conference play.
And just conference matchups left for the Beacons. And as you mentioned, if they could start to heat up down the stretch. That's when you want your team playing your best basketball heading into the conference tournament.
Yeah, and all 8 teams make the conference tournament, so it's not thinking about are we going to make it or not. It's thinking about seeding, whether you have a home game, trying to get the right matchup.
And I think we've seen the difference between home and away, and just looking at these two teams. As in the first game, Keene State, they were able to jump out to a 15-0 lead at home back in December 6th. Here, Beacons have had a little bit more success.
And Nate Stitchell just hit back-to-back buckets. Difficult spot for him. He was trying to box out Omerovich, and it's funny. Howard was in there as well. Howard didn't pay attention to Omerovich, thinking he could out-jump him. Stitchell forced to provide a little bit of contact, and the Beacons will head to the line. The PA announcer got that one wrong. They were calling for a 1-and-1. It's only the 6th foul on Keene State. Both teams now with 16 fouls. The next one will lead to a 1-and-1 opportunity.
Joseph now on the wing. He'll give it up to Ulysse. Out to Young for 3. Doesn't go, but the long rebound tipped out by Keene State will come directly to Benavicia, as Ulysse is going to be called for the offensive foul.
Nice job by Edwards. That was actually Omerovich who tapped it out. Knew he had no chance at the rebound, but was able to just scoop it out and extend the possession. Ulysse just going a little bit too strong there, but with 7:14 to go, the Beacons are in a really good spot, leading by 15. And right now, the good news for the Beacons is no additional foul trouble, as Omerovich is kept to just the 3 fouls.
Fouls go into Howard, who tried to give it up to Wright. Bounced off his shoulder and out of bounds as the Beacons take over with 7 minutes remaining.
That was a good look from the big man. It might have been a little bit harder than it was needed, but it was a very nice job.
Good bounce pass there by Young.
Foul's going to be on Stitchell, who came in from behind, as Howard got that block and got it pretty hard too. But should be a 2-shot foul, as Omerovich doing a nice job as the Beacons have continued to have really nice spacing on their fast breaks. Another perfectly executed 2-on-1 where you draw the defender a little bit towards the ball handler, give it up to the guy who's cutting backside, and Omerovich has a chance to extend this lead. He's had a very nice game. Doesn't show up as much on the score sheet with just the 5 points down and 3 rebounds, but a big reason why the Beacons have been good defensively, and he's done a nice job facilitating on the offensive end.
He's goes 1 for 2 from the line. Edwards will come away with the rebound. Beacons now lead by 16. Stitchell with the 3. Rebound by Young. Young looking to transition quick, turns it over. Picked up by Stitchell. Stitchell with the alley-oop pass, which is put away by Howard.
Yeah, nothing you can do about that one. Salim Omerovich had a really, really difficult spot there. Stitchell actually forced a 3-pointer, and was fortunate after the Beacons tried to get into their fast break a little bit too early. They never really controlled the ball.
This one's going to be a block on the Owls.
And Doug, that's an instance where Edwards must have had his feet inside the circle, because that one looked like a more blatant charge to me than the last one where it was called on Ulysse. But I'm not a referee. I don't pretend to be a referee. That looked like a charge, and it'll go the Beacons' way.
Third foul on Edwards.
Here's some of the fans from the Keene State side screaming it was a charge, and I think that was a tough break for Keene State, but you have to answer, and that's a nice answer from Doyle to get 2 and see a timeout from Keene State. We talked about these 3-minute sections. Well, we got another one completed. 6:14 to go. The Beacons lead was 17 the last time. It's 15. Keene State has won 3 of the 4 3-minute sections right now, but they're only winning by 2 or 3, and the Beacons won 1 of them, so they've cut into it by 3 points since halftime. This is do or die time here over the last 6:14. You not only need buckets, you need stops, and that's been the thing Keene State has struggled with all game long. UMass Boston is just 4 points shy of what Keene State gives up per game. With 6 minutes to go at the rate they're going, they're going to be close to 90 points for the game, something that UMass Boston has been nowhere close to during their 4-game losing streak. The Beacons have hit just 75 points once during that streak. as low as 58 in their loss to Bridgewater. The Beacons haven't hit 90 points since December 11th when UMass Boston defeated Pine Manor College.
This layup is good by Omerovich. His 7th points, 6th and 7th points of the afternoon.
And that play is made by Gregory Young, who picked up his 5th assist.
Kicked back out by Wright. Doyle for 3. No good, but a good rebound there by Wright. We'll put it back up and score.
Some great hustle there from Dizelle Wright, and then Luc Ulysse does what he does best, controlling his body, forcing the contact, and the Beacons have done a lot of their damage here in the second half without Karl Agenor. Now, Agnor's a little bit banged up, as are pretty much every player out on the floor. It's the second half of the season. You know injuries are going to happen, and they're not necessarily terrible injuries, but they're injuries that are going to slow down a guy as they're going to wave off the free throw, trying to get Agenor into the game. It is a 1-and-1 opportunity here for Ulysse, the 9th foul, and Omerovich will head to the bench. And just a lot of confusion with the referee there. Charlie Titus is kind of wondering, oh, well, the free throw went in, so it should count, right? But it's not going to go Charlie's way. The Beacons have been okay from the free throw line, 8 of 15. Make it 8 of 16. That's somewhere they'd like to improve upon, but it's been one of the few weak points in their game today.
Nice bounce pass into Doyle. We'll lay it in for 2.
Doyle's got 14 now. Dizelle Wright's done a nice job with 12, but no one else has really picked up the scoring slack.
Layup attempt by Agenor doesn't go. He gets his own rebound and puts it back up for 2.
That's what Agenor does such a great job of, controlling his body. Karl now with 9 points and 12 rebounds.
Floater there by Edwards is good. 5 minutes remaining here. 13-point lead for the Beacons. Benavica drives and scores on the left side.
Yeah, and just like Nate Howard wasn't fair on the alley-oop, that's not fair to Nate Howard to make him come out and guard Omar Benavica at the three-point line.
Howard will get a rebound there, put it back up for 2. Back to a 13-point game.
Once again, though, trading baskets.
As this one will be turned over on the long pass attempt as the Beacons try to break the press.
And I think Charlie Titus likes the energy. He likes the idea. But 4:30, you can start to think. Only start. You don't want to. One of the big things you can do wrong is try to slow it down too much, and then the other team gets back in it. You can't really start pushing your offense as much. But that's an opportunity where maybe you kill a little bit more of the clock, as that pass was a bit too dangerous and it led to a turnover.
4.5 minutes remaining here. As this ball will come inside to Howard. Howard, the layup attempt. He'll get fouled. It's going to be on Agenor.
And now we'll see Howard go to the free throw line. Howard has 12 points and 7 rebounds. He had 8 points in the first half. He's been limited for the most part here in the second half.
Makes the first free throw.
He's got a nice shooting stroke for a 7-footer.
As Ozella will check back into the game for the Owls. Howard misses the second, but the Owls grab the rebound. This is LaCroix going back inside to Howard. Howard with the dunk.
And that's difficult. Joseph thought he had the rebound. Couple Keene State hands got in there and tapped it loose, and that's a big possession. This game hasn't been a 10-point game at all here in the second half.
Bounce pass into Agenor. Agenor with the lay-in.
It's the extra pass. That's what made that play in Agenor a nice finish. A huge basket for the Beacons to push it back to 12.
Agner's going to probably get a block on that one as Doyle went for the lay-in, which was blocked out of bounds, and the Owls will keep possession.
Yeah. At this point, you need to really limit the three-point looks for Keene State and not give up easy baskets. 3:50 to go. Still enough time for Keene State to make this comeback. But the biggest thing you need to do if you're UMass Boston is not allow them to make it any easier.
Doyle's going to go to the line, shooting 2. Agenor picks up his 4th foul.
And that's one of those instances, if you're the team that's trailing, you love to score points without the clock moving. Now with Agenor with those 4, do you bring back Omerovich? It looks like they're going to keep Omerovich on the bench, but I'm sure Keene State will specifically go at Agenor. He's not only been one of their better rebounders, he's also had a decent day scoring. As Agenor is up to 11, he's one of 4 Beacons in double figures.
Doyle makes them both, and it's a 10-point game once again. Beacon's able to break the press. Young will kick it back to Benavicia. Benavicia back out to Ulysse, who goes down on contact, and it's going to be called for a travel.
Charlie Titus thought there was a little bit too much contact there, but once again, use a bit more of the shot clock. If you're not going to get that open look early on the clock as you break the press, use a bit more of it. Ulysse is trying to keep up the same kind of aggressiveness he's shown all game, but that's a better play when there's 10 seconds on the shot clock rather than 25.
So the Owls with a chance to cut it down to a single-digit deficit as Ozella drives the lane, doesn't get it to go. Agenor comes away with the rebound, sends it up to Young. Young bounce pass to Benavicia. Benavicia fights through and lays it in.
That's the kind of 2-on-1 you need to push rather than the 2-on-1 where it's a lot wider.
Another turnover forced by the Beacons as they're able to hold off the Owls. 3 minutes remaining here in the game. As it's going to be LeCroy reaching in on Benavicia, sending him to the line to shoot 2.
This is where those free throws become so essential. UMass Boston as a team on the year, 65.5%, 4th out of 8 teams in the conference. Benavicia, normally very confident free throw shooter, as that's his first free throw attempt of the game. The Beacons now 9 of 17, and this is an instance where you want to have your best free throw shooters head to the line. Leo Medina, who we haven't seen all game long, actually leads the team at 75%, but you'd rather have Agenor, who's over 70%, and Benavicia, who's a good free throw shooter, than maybe a Joseph who struggled recently, or an Omerovich who hasn't been to the line anywhere near as frequently in late game situations over the past couple of years.
And Benavicia will hit them both, giving his team a 14-point lead, just under 3 minutes here remaining. And once again, breaking it into 3-minute marks. We have 3 minutes remaining in the game, and the visitors need to put on a run here if they want to come back.
I'm trying to remember our last mark at about 6 minutes. I think it was a 15-point game, and Keene State did a great job. They cut it to 10 twice, but the Beacons always finding a response. It's been very impressive all afternoon long, the resiliency of both UMass Boston squads. Keene State will throw a punch, and the Beacons are able to answer it. This Beacons men's team, one of the things that they were so confident about going into the year is this is a more veteran squad than they've had in over a decade. The Beacons, with 4 senior captains, 5 total seniors, they brought back a lot of players. They thought that they'd be ready for the late game situations where they struggled a year ago in conference play, and this is a chance for them to earn a huge win.
They'll get a stop and a turnover there. Sent up to Joseph, who's going to try for the dunk, but he's going to be fouled by Gagliolo.
And I think they're just going to call a personal foul. If there was a little bit more contact, you get into the tricky territory of an intentional foul or a flagrant foul. Joseph going up really hard. Gagliolo didn't have enough contact to draw anything extra, and I think it was the right call, but a strong move there. Young identifying Joseph, and Joseph taking it himself.
Joseph to the line shooting 2. He's got 14 points on the day. Makes the first.
Incredible balance for UMass Boston. 5 players in double figures. With Ulysse having 20, Joseph now up to 15. Young has 15. Benavicia with 12, and Agenor with the double-double of 11 points and 14 rebounds.
Howard comes away with that rebound. Zella kicks it back out to Gagliolo, takes the 3, rebound Howard. Nice block there by Young on the 3-point attempt by Nick Gagliolo. Then we're going to get a foul called.
I believe it'll be Gagliolo.
It is indeed his 3rd foul of the game. So Young is going to head to the line to shoot 2.
And Young's such a great shot blocker because he's able to anticipate and he doesn't ever make contact. He's able to avoid those fouls. He's had 2 fouls where it was just a little bit careless, a little bit over-aggressive, but he does a nice job of, and I think that's his 2nd or maybe 3rd block of the game, of timing it perfectly and getting it just as the ball's coming out of the shooter's hands. And that was just a frustration foul from Gagliolo as Young had the position.
Young makes 1 of 2, but gets his own rebound, hands it off to Joseph, and they're going to take it back out and use up some of his clock, as the clock will drop down to about 2 minutes.
And now there's a foul from Ozella, who I don't know if he was getting directions from the bench to give the foul, but he thought that they needed to foul and get the ball back, and Young will have a chance for 2 more. And that's a veteran play by Luc Ulysse. Joseph was thinking about going up, and Ulysses calling for the ball, brings it back out, kills a little bit more clock, and instead of taking a shot from the field, the Beacons will get 2 more good looks for one of their better shooters, as Young with that free throw now 3 of 5.
Try to make it 4 of 6 on this attempt. He does, and the lead is back up to 18. Cross court over to Doyle. Doyle's going to drive, pull up, knocks down the J for 2. There's the foul. This one's also going to be on Gagliolo.
And
his 4th.
And Doug, at this point, the Beacons shooting 2 the rest of the way. Keene State will be if the Beacons commit another foul, but it's impossible to come back right now if you're not hitting your threes. And Keene State for the game, 4 of 13 from the 3-point line, just 30.8. Actually, I'm looking at UMass Boston. They're 4 of 13. Keene State would love to be 4 of 13. Keene State's 2 of 16, 12.5%. If you're a team that's averaging 90 points per game, you're a team that can hit the threes. They haven't been able to do that today, and that's a big reason why they're going to look at the box score and say this is why we came up short at UMass Boston. A big part of it, though, has been the Beacons' energy and enthusiasm matching Keene State's intensity.
As Ozella tries to get inside, he's unable to do so. Beacons will come away with the rebound.
And the Beacons have hit that 90-point mark their first time since December 11th. Beacons were close to hitting 100 a couple times back in first semester. First time in 8 games that they've hit 90 points.
As Young will go up and lay that one in. Open the lead back up to 20. Final minute of play here. I think that was an attempted alley-oop pass. Didn't go. As this long pass comes out to Joseph, who will dunk it. Kind of put a punctuation mark on today's game.
Well, Karl's tried to have a couple of blocks as Doyle tries to hit one from 30 feet out. Karl's tried to have a block against Howard a couple times. I think that he would look back at that as an accomplishment. Wasn't able to do that. Able to have a big dunk anyways. And this is a statement win for UMass Boston. I do want to say Nate Howard's had a good game. It hasn't been on Nate Howard. It even hasn't been necessarily on the team's leading scorer, Tom Doyle, who's at 18 points, although he has 18 on just 7 of 20 shooting. UMass Boston's done just a better job getting contributions from all over the board, whereas Keene State only has had a couple players have big games.
Young will have a 3-point attempt. Follow up by Joseph, who will put it down, and that gets his bench excited. As the Beacons are now up to 96 points on the day. Shot clock went off there. So we'll get a reset here with 14 seconds remaining in the game.
And that one's going to be on Tajay Burston, the very competent point guard for the Beacons women's team. She was brought out of the locker room to help out. She got a little bit too excited after the dunk from Karl Joseph. So either way, the shot clock is turned off with 16 seconds to play, and this one is just a matter of finishing off the clock.
And the Nate Stitchell tried the long 3 attempt. The Beacons will just dribble up the clock and come away with a 96-72 victory here this afternoon. 2 wins for the Beacons today. This one in runaway fashion. We weren't expecting that early on.
I don't think we were expecting that even into the second half. The first game was very close. Keene State won 107-97. We kept expecting the Keene State run, and it never happened. And that is a credit to the Beacons coaching staff. It's a credit to everyone we saw who played, and I'm sure it's a credit as well to some of the bench players who didn't play today, but who helped the starters get ready for Keene State. You have to play at a fast pace. You have to avoid turning over the ball, and you just have to be ready to match Keene State's intensity. All the numbers today in favor of the Beacons, and this is a win that they should really enjoy before heading back to practice tomorrow, because this is one of their better wins of the season. The Beacons had a lot of non-conference wins in 8-3 overall, but they didn't necessarily play the highest of competition. This win over Keene State, one of their best of the year, and it snaps a 4-game losing streak. That's even more important. Their first home conference win in 2 years after going 0-7 a year ago.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it's just their second conference win so far this year. And we kind of mentioned this on the women's side, but we're halfway through the conference schedule now. This is a good way to start off as you head down the stretch with tough games coming up against some tough conference opponents.
Yeah, and the Beacons at 2-5, they're not in a great spot in the conference. 6th place, they're a full 2 games back behind Western Connecticut State and Keene State, who are tied for 4th place. 4th place gets a home playoff game in the quarterfinals. So Keene State's in a great spot. UMass Boston's going to have to get more wins in the second half of the season. The good thing is, though, the Beacons' only home games thus far before Keene State, Rhode Island College, the defending champs, and Eastern Connecticut State, the defending regular season champs, and the team that's atop the conference standings at 8-0. So if you're UMass Boston, you get to face all of the other teams. UMass Dartmouth, the team they played close. Keene State, they played close the first time, got the win. Then you get Western, Plymouth, and Southern Maine. That's 5 home games in the second half of the season out of 7 games for the Beacons, a chance to really make some statements. They've played better here at home. They look more comfortable here at home. And now is the time, if you're this senior-laden men's basketball team, to really make a big run.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, bring back the final statistics of the game. You're listening to the Beacons Broadcast Network.
And welcome back to the Beacons Broadcast Network postgame show. My name is Seth Dorensky, joined by head coach Charlie Titus. Coach, you'd lost 10 straight to Keene State. The first time up at their place, you allowed 107. Today, allowing just 72 points, 14 points below their season average. You put up 96, first time you'd reached 90 points since your game against Pine Manor College back in December. Everything seemed to go right for this team, and they were able to deal with a little adversity when Keene State was able to cut it down to 10 points. How proud are you of your team's response after this recent 4-game losing streak?
Well, I think a couple things happened. Obviously, I'm very proud of them, and having Luc Ulysse back made a huge difference for us. He had to take a little time off and take some intercession academics and really focus on that, and I'm glad he did that, and I'm happy to report he did very, very well. So now he's back with us, and I think that makes a huge difference. I think that we got back to playing the way that we were playing early in the year. Keene State's a very good basketball team, and that press that they use has taken a lot of teams out this year. This team's won 13 games. So I thought we did a really, really good job of handling their press for the most part. I thought we did a much better job of running our offense and attacking the basket as opposed to settling for jump shots, which I think we had done too much in the last 4 games.
Coach, this was just your 3rd home game in the season in conference play. Your first 2 against the defending tournament champ and the defending regular season champ. Not easy tests. You've got 4 more after this. How much of a statement is this that if you're coming here to the Clark, life isn't going to be easy? Your team has played very well here at home, especially in non-conference play, and to come out today and not just beat Keene State, who was 13-3, but to really put on an impressive show.
Well, it doesn't matter to me whether it's home or away. I think if we play the way we're capable of playing, and we proved that at Colby Sawyer earlier this year, which is a tough place to play, and a very good basketball team. So for us, it's worrying about what we do and making sure that we do the things that we want to do well, execute well, defend well, identify the right people to put the defensive pressure on, box and rebound well, run the floor well, attack the basket, the things that we really want to do. We have an identity, and the more we can sustain that identity and push that on people, I think we got a good chance to win every game we play.
Coach, one last question for you. Today, it took me a few minutes, but notice the sneakers look. Coaches versus Cancer. It's late January. What does that mean to you this year? This is your last year as part of the coaching community to be a part of that. Keene State also donning the sneakers, and to focus not just on the sport, but what the sport means to so many people in the community.
I'm going to give you a very short answer for a very good reason. I think it's something that it allows us to draw attention to a terrible disease that needs attention, needs support, needs help.
Well, that's a very nice, succinct way of putting it. Coach, thanks so much for your time. Congratulations on the win. We know we'll see you this week. We just don't know what day it'll be.
Get some snow.
The Beacons will host Southern Maine, looking for back-to-back conference wins. Win number 3, trying to move up the ladder in the Little East Conference. Thanks so much for your time, Coach.
Thanks, sir.
Congrats on the win. We'll take a brief break, and then we'll be back with our final part of our post-game show here at the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium.
Welcome back to the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium. Doug Chen, Seth Dorensky here with you. As the Beacons come away with 2 victories, this latest one, the men with a decisive
72
victory here this afternoon against a very good Keene State team.
Yeah, and you look at the statistics right there, Doug. -3 in rebounds. I think the Beacons will take that. They knew rebounding was going to be a challenge, and Big Nate Howard, the 7-footer, finished with 15 and 9. He's a very competent player for a reason, but the Beacons, 19 assists versus 14 turnovers. Keene State, the exact opposite, 14 assists, 19 turnovers. That's a very good stat for UMass Boston. The Beacons also 52.2% from the field. They held Keene State to 38% shooting from the field and just 11.1% shooting from behind the three-point line. This is one of Keene State's worst shooting games outside of their game against Rhode Island College a couple of weekends ago, and Rhode Island College is one of the best defensive teams in all of New England. So to take Keene State out of their game 2 days after or 3 days because of the snow after Keene State scored 93 points, that's a very impressive mark. UMass Boston just did a great job, and just like the women's game, I feel like I'm using all the same things. Maybe the two teams really used each other for inspiration, but balance from all over the court in terms of scoring, and everyone made a contribution who saw the floor, and that's very big because when a team's not going well, sometimes it's hard to get contributions from everyone, and today that was not the case for UMass Boston.
Yeah, 5 double-digit scorers for the Beacons out of the 8 players that played. They were led by Luc Ulysse, who had a brilliant showing in his first game back.
Yeah, I didn't ask Charlie a question about Luc. He talked about it a little bit. I mean, I think Charlie would have been on our post-game show for about 3 hours if he talked about Luc and how much he means to this team. But in talking to him, I asked him on our walk over, it must be nice to have Luc back, and he said Luc is our leader, and I think that really showed today. Having Luc back provided a huge jolt to this team, and it showed a big win over Keene State, and probably the surprise of the weekend on the men's side. There were some big upsets on the women's side, but this might have been the most surprising result on the men's side, and this is a very good win for head coach Charlie Titus, breaking that 10-game losing streak against Keene, and for this group of a lot of seniors, a lot of juniors, a team that is capable of making a run if they can put it all together.
And for upperclassmen, this is their last chance, so that's obviously how they'd like to close out their college career. All right, now we're ready to wrap things up here. I'd like to thank Seth Orensky, Brian Falia, Ryan Augustine, who all helped out on our broadcast today. I'm Doug Chin. Beacons win 96-72. Thanks for listening.